Hey guys, welcome into In the Alley. Today, Saturday's preview. We got 3 games on tap tonight, starting at 6:05, ending at 8:05. So spread out a little bit for all of us to watch. Second screen, third screen, whatever you want to do. As usual, intro here, timestamps right here. Pick your favorite game, watch the entire preview, or don't. I'm just here to fill you in on your needs and what I deem important. So thanks for listening to me and my rants and opinions. Without further ado, let's move on to Duke City and Vegas. All right, preview number 1 for the night, Saturday, April 27th, 6:05 p.m. Central Time on YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from the Lee's Family Forum in Henderson, Nevada. The 0-4 Duke City Gladiators travel to Vegas, suburb, to take on the Vegas Nighthawks. Now, they've had to move this game up. I believe the original start time was 8:05 Central. Vegas has a home playoff game against Dallas, which hockey sucks, but hey, we're here to talk about football. Let's take a look at the leaders here for Duke City and Vegas, and the leading passer is still Javen Kilgo. He didn't play last week. It's just been kind of a less than optimal performance by Duke City's offense. We'll talk about that here in a second. Still your leading passer, 396 yards. Jeff Carr, 98 yards rushing. We are 4 games into the season. He doesn't even have 100 yards rushing. That's how bad this offense has been. I don't like to say things like that. It's just they have not been good. Needless to say, I don't want to sugarcoat it, but what else can you say about this offense? Journey Sloan, 15 catches, 165 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He's probably their lone bright spot. Greg Dent's been there as well, but overall the offense is one of, if not the worst offense in the IFL right now. Defensively, Malik McDowell with 7 tackles. He's all right. Jason Serta, and I've said this in the Duke City preview and ever since, he's the defense. Well, part 1 at least. 21 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss. It doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but he's been getting pressure like crazy. He blitzes like crazy, like I knew he would. He's been there. So I know he's missed a game, but look for him early and often here as well. The other bright spot of Duke City's defense, Aaron Jackson, 24 tackles. I believe he is second in the Indoor Football League in tackles. Correct me if I'm wrong. 1.5 for a loss, 1 pick, and 1 pass breakup. This guy got stretchered off. In game 1 and came back in the next game, and he's just been putting up crazy stats. You see down there, he is my player to watch for the defense. I look for more of it. You're going to need him. You're going to need him desperately in this game in order to have any semblance of an upset. On the other side, Vegas, Jerome Johnson, leader in passing and rushing, 23 total touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Over 800 yards of total offense. This man, MVP candidate, might be the front runner. I'm not sure, but he is doing it all right now. He is the offense. As he goes, so does Vegas, and Vegas is going. Quentin Randolph, your leading receiver, 16 catches, 232 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Man is good. Defensively, they've got one of the better defenses in the league, if not one of the best. Gabe McCoy getting after it, 10 tackles, 4 for a loss, and a sack. Mikal Calhoun, it's a great addition this season. 24 tackles, 5 for a loss, 2 sacks, and 1 pass breakup. And again, just like Jason Serta, it doesn't show, quarterback pressures and stuff. He's getting after it. He is all over the place. He is just anywhere, everywhere on the defensive side of the ball. Defensive secondary, Bryce Hampton, 19 tackles, 1 for a loss, 3 picks, and 4 pass breakups. You have the Vegas Nighthawks. Bryce Hampton is a ball hawk. It's a horrible joke. I apologize. I am a dad, so I at least get one. Players to watch here. Running back, Jeff Carr. They need to get the running game going. Simple as that. But how is he going to do out of the backfield? I could put Greg Dent here. I could put Journey Sloan here. It's going to be a game here where Duke City's going to have to pass the ball. They're probably going to get down early and do nothing but pass the ball. Jeff Carr is probably going to have a stat line just like this. But if you can control tempo, if you can kind of get the ball first and kind of waste some time, and I like to call it boa constrictoring that time, like really just squeeze as much time as you can out of here and limit the amount of possessions that Vegas can have, Duke City has a very, very, very outside shot of winning. Very, 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 very outside shot. Defensive back Aaron Jackson, I just talked about him. 5 tackles, 1.5 for a loss, and a pick against Northern Arizona. He's going to have to go up against one of the best receiving corps, if not the best receiving corps in the Indoor Football League. Quentin Randolph, Caleb Hawley, CJ Wyndham. Oh, and you've got Antonio Wimbush out of the backfield too. Don't know who's starting, but he's got to do it. Same thing with Trey Claiborne and Greg Thomas as well. I mean, they have to get after it. Serta has to pressure Jerome Johnson. That's the only way. The only way they can keep it in is if the defense is able to get stops here. It'll be probably few and far between, but we'll talk about that later. On the Vegas side, Jerome Johnson, more of the same. Simple as that. Steady the boat. He only missed 2 passes against Jacksonville. 184 yards, 5 touchdowns. -1 yard rushing. Keep him to that. 7 total touchdowns on the day for him. He's good. What else can you say about him? Defensively, players to watch for Vegas, Jerry Garner. Last game, 4.5 tackles, 1 for a loss. Not a big game, but they didn't have to be. They pulled away from Jacksonville late, or not late, but like second half wise. I expect a little bit more of the same in this game. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if it's another 60-30 game. Vegas is just that damn good. But you wouldn't know it from the series history. Duke City leads at 2-1. Their last game was actually a blowout themselves. Gladiators 53, Vegas 30 in Week 15 of last season at Duke City. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen this time. Plus 16.5 odds for Duke City as the underdog, over-under of 86.5. Let's go talk about the 25-man roster. Let's go take a look at our bet. We'll move on to preview number 2. All right, so look at the 25-man roster, and something copy and pasted wrong over there. Quarterman Sloan is not your starting quarterback above John Jund. Ignore that, please. Anyway, John Jund was your starter last week for Duke City, and then Jeremy Hickbottom got in and finished the game out. I think Jund only threw 2 passes. One of them was a pick, and they just pulled the plug on him. So they did sign Alfonso Smith just a few days ago. We'll see if he gets into the game. We just never know who's starting for Duke City. It is just a carousel of bodies at this point. They've kind of got it, tapered down on the defensive side of the ball. They did have Roderick Perry slot in on the defensive line, but that defensive secondary, I think, has been the same. Cam Pruitt's been in and out. Serta has been in and out. But for the most part, it's kind of just been the offensive line and the defense that have been kind of the same. And then, of course, Ernesto Lacayo. So, not really much to say for Duke City. On the Vegas side, not really much to say either. They're just rolling along. They're just plugging and playing bodies right there. We'll see if Antonio Wimbush gets another start, if they put in Terrain Taylor. Maurice Jackson, I think, is still on injured reserve. I'm not sure about Roderick Chapman. We'll see if Justin Collins comes back. I believe he got kicked out of the game against Jacksonville along with Jabari Gorman. So we'll see if he comes back. Ronald Collins might slot in. We'll just see. But overall, there's your 25-man rosters. Maybe some shakeup. Maybe not. We'll see. But there we go. Let's go check out our best bet, and we'll move on. All right. Best bet, over 86.5. This is going to be a ballsy pick. I'll explain. Duke City has one of the worst offenses in the Indoor Football League. They are 15th in passing offense in terms of yardage and 16th in rushing offense in terms of yardage. However, they don't really have that good of a defense either. It's very middle of the pack. Vegas has a very, very good defense, or a very, very good offense. Second best passing offense in terms of yards, and the 5th best rushing offense in terms of yards. So it looks like the offense is going to score points. I don't know if Duke City is going to score points. So the over does look a little shaky. But, Vegas, you're hoping is hoping for another 60-30 game here, in which case you would cash it. Vegas's defense, though, could be on a whole nother planet. Let's be honest here. Vegas does like to convert on third downs. They're the best team in the Indoor Football League when it comes to converting on third downs. And Duke City is number 1 in the Indoor Football League in letting their opponents convert third downs. So I'm expecting some deep shots, but what makes this bet a little risky is Vegas can just run the ball and run the clock out if it's that big of a blowout. Another saving grace here, Duke City, 3rd in the league in penalties, I believe, in just penalties thrown. And we'll see if that gives Vegas some short yardage situations, or, some really nice gains to add on to, like a face mask or something along those lines. So over 86.5 here. Really, ultimately, you need both teams to score 43 points. I don't see Duke City scoring 43, but maybe Vegas can make up for it on their end, and we just move on from there. But let's go take a look at preview number 2, and we'll just continue on. All right, preview number 2, 7:05 Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from Shields Arena, Fargo, North Dakota. Massachusetts Pirates 4-1, traveling to not the Sioux Falls Storm. They're traveling to Fargo, North Dakota in a neutral site matchup between Sioux Falls and, Massachusetts. I already said that, so I kind of ruined that bit. But regardless, 4-1 Massachusetts against Sioux Falls, who is 0-4. Take a look at these leaders right now, and what can you say about just the potent offense that is the Pirates? Benefield's getting it done through the air. Robinson and Tavian Thomas are getting it done on the ground. Isaac Zico and Thomas Owens are getting it done catching the ball. So those are your leaders right there. When you look at the little box, they're just a damn good offense. We'll dive more into that here in a bit, but almost 650 passing yards, only 3 picks for Benefield. Jimmy Robinson has kind of been splitting some time with Tavian Thomas. Both were suited up last week. And Isaac Zico just continuing on with his ways. Thomas Owens is getting in there as well. And then they're kind of, getting that third wide receiver, whether it's Dallas Daniels, T.O. Redding. It's kind of been Redding as of late. But really, they kind of switch in between there. But defensively, just more of the same. Just a nice, dominant defensive performance as usual. Calvin Bundage, you've got to make the font really small to see those stats. 24 tackles, 3.5 for a loss, 2.5 for a sack, 1 pass breakup, 1 forced fumble, 1 block kick. I know you need a microscope for it, but he's getting after it. He was pressuring Quad City like crazy. I think a couple of times he might have gotten thrown for roughing the passer, but he was after it. He was getting all after it. You see his player to watch. We'll just talk about him. 8 tackles, 1 for a loss last week. Again, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but look for him to pressure Billy Hall. Look for him to just get after him. And yeah, that's really it. You got to stop the running game here. I've not seen necessarily anything in the passing game for Sioux Falls that excites me. They're getting it going a little bit. Lorenzo Brown in there as a mentor role. I don't know if he's actually going to start. We'll talk about that in the 25-man roster. But offensively for Mass, Thomas Owens. Zico is going to get his catches. But Thomas Owens, 6 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown last week. He's starting to heat up. I don't believe he started in the very first game against Green Bay. Ever since then, he's just kind of slowly gotten his pace picked right back up into this offense. He's damn good. Massachusetts is running it back, as they should. This is how good they are. Sioux Falls. Billy Hall, rushing and passing. 15 total touchdowns, 2 picks. That's not bad. He's got, 700 total yards of offense between the two. Ken Tresbell, 201 yards with 14 catches. So not that far off the pace from Isaac Zico. But, again, I wish you would get more in the passing game. And we'll see if that opens up a little bit here. But that's your offense. It's not the best. It's not the worst. It's just an offense. Dejon Emery, Amin Black, and Elijah Reed. Leading tacklers, leading stats guys on the defensive line. Dejon Emery, 6.5 tackles, 3.5 for a loss, and 2 pass breakups. Amin Black, he did not play last game, and I can't remember if it's the last 2 games now that I'm thinking about it. He didn't play last game, though. But still, 24 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, and 1 fumble recovery. See if he comes back into the game. Elijah Reed, 25.5 tackles, 1 for a loss, 4 pass breakups, 1 fumble recovery. He is my player to watch defensively. 8 tackles, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 pass breakups against Green Bay. That secondary has to cover this wide receiving core. I say it almost every Massachusetts preview. You've got to cover all of these guys. Oh, and you have to cover 2 running backs if they choose to suit them up. Regardless, it's still kind of 2 running backs because Alejandro Benefield can scramble. Offensively, though, Billy Hall. The stats are there. I mean, they're not bad by any means. That's just kind of a typical IFL stat line for a quarterback. The one thing I do wish is, can we get a little bit more accurate in the passing game? You've missed 9 completions there. If you can get a little bit more accurate, pump up those yardage numbers, and again, I'm not asking for him to be perfect. I don't think anyone is. And I'm hoping the Lorenzo Brown thing works out. But if you can even complete 4 more of those catches, it might be able to turn the tides a little bit here. He's rushing pretty well, 80 yards rushing, almost. 1 rushing touchdown, so he's kind of their offense right now. But again, if we can open up that passing game, I think Sioux Falls could unlock something here that could really start getting them into a playoff push as early as it is. 3-2 for the series history. Massachusetts leads. They just met a couple weeks ago in Massachusetts. They won 49-41. It was a decently good game. But ultimately, again, do we expect more of the same here? We'll find out in a minute. Mass is favored by 10 points, over-under of 88.5. Let's go check out the 25-man roster. Let's go check out our bet, and we'll move on with preview number 3. 25-man roster for Massachusetts and Sioux Falls. Really quick, I don't know if it's covering up, but thank you to Massachusetts for getting the mini helmet out to me. Appreciate it. Good customer service. Took my requests as much as they wanted to, and little helmet right there. So if you didn't notice, it's the preview is the helmets back there. But anyway, 25-man rosters. Let's talk about it. Really the only change here, and again, there could be plenty of changes. Massachusetts does like to do kind of a last-minute switch on their roster. Kenneth Durden, I don't know if he was traded. Seemed a little quick, but he is off to Tucson. And they have signed Darren Carrington, who was with them last year. Makes me wonder if there's any sort of thing with the wide receivers, if they're bringing Darren Carrington in, if Tio Redding or Dallas Daniels are really banged up. But ultimately, I don't know how much that's going to impact them. If it does at all, Carrington does come back from last season, so it's not like he doesn't know the offense. Anything else, though? Nothing really on the Massachusetts side. Sioux Falls, kind of the same thing. I didn't really see anything on them. I did these rosters Friday around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, something like that. So anything between now, Saturday morning and Friday afternoon, I just missed it. So there's our 25-man rosters. Let's go check out our bet, and we will move on with the final preview. All right, best bet. I'm going out on a limb here. Under 88.5, and I'll explain why. I know the last game they scored 90 points, which makes you think that they're probably going to score more than 90 in this one. I also hate this bet, which means it's probably going to hit. But let me just say this. In terms of offense, they are both top 10 rushing offenses. Sioux Falls is 13th in passing offense, which means I think they're going to rely on the running game a little bit. Massachusetts does like to take deep shots. I expect them more of the same here. Defensively, Sioux Falls has the number 2 best rushing defense in terms of yards allowed. Rushing defense for Massachusetts is 10th, which means I think Sioux Falls might want to try and run on that a little bit. As for third downs, both teams are pretty good at converting third downs, and flags thrown, both teams are number 1 when it comes to either penalty yards or flags thrown. So everything leads to an over here, it seems. But I just think it's going to come down to like 87 points. I think it's going to be something where they both put up points. I know I have my predictions here at the end, but I'm looking at something in like the high 30s, early 40s between the two. If it's close, if it's not, I just think it's under 88.5. So I can give you the stats, but ultimately this is just a gut feeling. So it'll probably come back to bite me, but under 88.5. Let's go check out the final preview. All right, final one for the weekend. Well, Saturday night. 8:05 Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV live from the Tucson Arena in Tucson, Arizona. The Northern Arizona Wranglers travel south, 3-1, to take on the Sugar Skulls, who are 1-3. Leaders, as always, Josh Jones leading in rushing and passing, just like Malik Mitchell is now. Mitchell didn't play in the last game against San Antonio, so we'll see if he comes back. Tucson's preview said he might start. So Josh Jones, we'll talk Northern Arizona really quick. They looked pretty good. They looked really good against Duke City, even though the score doesn't necessarily reflect that. Very low scoring game. But Josh Jones looked the part, running, passing, and really, when you look at the player to watch, we'll talk about him here in a second. David Elder looked really good on both sides. I know the stats don't show it, but he was there. RZ McCorker, 216 yards, 6 touchdowns on 14 catches. That's almost a touchdown every other catch. So he is the go-to guy. Half of the touchdowns for Josh Jones right there. So he's going to be the go-to guy, even though I've got someone else to watch. Defensively, again, this is just a really, really good defense. They're really hitting their stride as we speak. Tremont Lofton, Shannon Reed, Travian Banks. Shannon Reed, player to watch there. 25 tackles, 4 for a loss, 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. Last week, 8 tackles, 1.5 for a loss, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble. Look for him. He's got to get after it, especially if Mitchell is going to start. If he doesn't, not sure who they have starting at quarterback. We'll see that in the 25-man roster. Player to watch on the offensive side, David Elder. 7 catches, 41 yards, and had 5 rushes for 11 yards. Now, Northern Arizona doesn't necessarily go with a running back right now. They let Gerard Ware go, who got picked up by Tulsa. But he is kind of your hybrid. And I don't know what they like to call it in the inner circles there, but I call it kind of your hybrid. So, a hybrid wide receiver running back. He can go out in the slot. He's pretty much a wide receiver, but can run the ball. I look for a little bit more of the same stat line, maybe get those rushing numbers up a little bit more. Other than that, I mean, he is kind of the guy to look for. They're going to try and cover RZ McCorker. They're going to get after Maldonado. I think Elder has a chance to kind of break out a little bit in this game if they're going to overlook him. We'll see if they do. On the Tucson side, like I said, Malik Mitchell leading in both rushing and passing. He didn't play last week. They didn't say why. So if he's injured, he just missed the bus. I don't know. He's back, though, allegedly. Again, we'll talk about that here in a second. But Mike Kerrigan, 13 catches, 212 yards, and 1 touchdown. So look for him as well. He probably needs to get those touchdown numbers up. We'll see if they can get him the ball. He is my player to watch. You see that down below. On the defensive side, these are your leaders, but a little spoiler alert, I didn't see Trey Farrell on that roster. And now that I'm thinking about it, I cannot remember if I saw Braden Utley as well. So we'll go take a look at that. But Robert Sheffield, he is also my player to watch. We'll just slide right down there. 8.5 tackles, 3 for a loss, 1 pass breakup against San Antonio. He's probably going to be the guy covering McCorker. He's going to be covering Maldonado. If he gets Elder out in the slot, wherever they want to put Sheffield, he's going to be the guy that has to shut down part of this passing game. You got to look for Tucson's secondary to shut it down, and we'll see. But offensively for Tucson, Mike Kerrigan, only 2 catches, 1 touchdown, though, 68 yards receiving. You got to get him in the ball a little bit. I understand the circumstances with what they did against San Antonio, but look for Malik Mitchell, if he is back, to maybe find his guy a little bit here, and we'll see if he needs any time to get into the groove, or if it's just what we saw when they played Northern Arizona and Mitchell was just a shot out of a cannon, man. So, series history, Northern Arizona leads 6-4, and this is a rematch from earlier in the season, just 4 weeks ago, 54-48, Northern Arizona kind of just came away with a back and forth battle there. So that being said, Wranglers are favored by 5.5, and this one actually has a money line over under of 92.5 right there. Money line very much juiced to the Wranglers. So let's go take a look at the 25-man rosters. Let's go look at our bet, and we will do a quick recap and get on out of here. All right, so 25-man rosters popping up. Talk a little bit about Northern Arizona. I didn't see if they have signed anyone else. I did not see Justin Manyweather on the roster when I was updating these. Could be a glitch. Not sure. If he's not, it looks like Kobe White is going to slide in there. I believe he caught his first touchdown last week against, who did they play? Now I'm blanking. No, not San Antonio. Duke City, Jesus. Anyway, Kobe White caught his first touchdown against Duke City. I knew that. So we'll see if they get anyone like Gene Coleman or Tozin Oyakanmi. I believe I pronounced that correctly. If not, I apologize. If they slide in there, whatever the case could be. Otherwise, not much has changed for Northern Arizona. On the Tucson side, Dominion Azinwa might have been a trade from when Quad City got Malik Owens and Mike Kerrigan and all that stuff. Dominion Azinwa is in Quad City. I don't know if that's a trade. I'm not sure if it was just a release and sign. Regardless, he is not there. They also don't have Trey Farrell or Cordell Brewster on the roster. And in those places, they have signed Jaquez Jackson, who was with Vegas and someone else last season. It's escaping me really quick. He was on the training camp roster for Jacksonville earlier in the preseason. They did get Kenneth Durden from Massachusetts. They have signed Darian Rakestraw, who was in the USFL with New Orleans last year, and Alois Jean, who is a former, I believe, Chicago Bear. He was on a training camp roster last year. I cannot remember who he was with off the top of my head. So I apologize. Braden Utley is still there. I got my defensive linemen mixed around. Torrance Gibson was the quarterback last week. We'll see if he slides back into the wide receiver role with Malik Mitchell coming back, or if it's a little bit more of the same. So there's your 25-man rosters. Let's go take a look at our bets, and we'll recap. All right, so best bet under 92.5. Another gut feeling. Doesn't really work out when I do it, but here are the stats why. Tucson likes to run the ball, and I think that's enough if they can limit possessions to really try and say, hey, we're going to do that. Northern Arizona's rush defense is 8th in the league, so it's not really anything to sneeze at, but at the same time, they can give up some yards. Passing defense for Tucson is 14th. Northern Arizona likes to pass the ball, so it could be a case of Northern Arizona really scoring at whim when it comes to the passing game. We'll see, but if Tucson can kind of shut it down a little bit, that's the reason I said it's kind of up to Robert Sheffield and Floyd and Phelps and everyone else to kind of get after it. If they can shut down the passing game, I look for it to be a little lower scoring. You look at the amount of points that Northern Arizona put up against Duke City. Duke City is not Tucson, so maybe it's the same amount of points. Maybe Tucson's defense just kind of shuts them down a little bit, or maybe Tucson's able to score some points of their own. You know, the last game here, but barn burner, 54-48. But I don't know. I just think it could be under here. Both defenses can kind of step up. You've already seen each other play once, kind of know the tendencies. Yeah, the rosters might have shaken up a little bit, but ultimately, can Tucson stop Northern Arizona with a decent offense that Northern Arizona has? It's getting better. Both defenses are all right. Northern Arizona's defense is pretty good. I still like an under 92.5. That's quite a few points. You're asking for 45 plus points each for both of them. I just don't see it. That being said, it could blow up completely in my face. But let's go take a look at some quick predictions and get on out of here. All right, again, no Aaron's IFL corner this week. Hope everyone is okay in that regard. And really quick, I live here in South Kansas City, so anyone watches this in Nebraska, Iowa, I've got family up in Des Moines, I've got family up in Nebraska, so I hope everyone up there is safe from the tornadoes and the nasty weather. We're going to get pelted with some nasty weather today and tonight, so hopefully everyone stays safe, stays inside, stays indoors, no pun intended, and we can all just watch some IFL football together until the power goes out, right? But yeah, hope everyone stays safe tonight from the nasty weather here in the Great Plains. Anyone else watching this that's not, I hope you guys are still safe regardless. But quick predictions here, we'll get out of here. Game number 1, like I've said, I think Vegas wins pretty handily, 56-34. What more can you say that I haven't already said? I think Vegas is going to treat this kind of like Jacksonville 2.0. but Jacksonville's better than Duke City, so maybe it's a larger margin of victory in that regard. But 56-34, we just don't know the quarterback situation in Duke City. So, yeah, Vegas wins that one. Game number 2, Massachusetts. I've got them 42-37. That's a little lenient for Sioux Falls. I think Sioux Falls can put up some points, but well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Massachusetts puts up more points than that. 42 just kind of seems a little low, but I want to try and keep it close. It's a neutral site game. Both teams don't really know what to expect from a neutral site venue. That might not make a difference. You know, some teams have really good tendencies on their home turf of like, here's where I get to throw it, the slippery ads that, we want to avoid or whatever. So, yeah, we just kind of see from that, but I think Massachusetts gets the win. Final one of the Saturday night, Northern Arizona, 40-35. They're just more well-rounded. I wouldn't be shocked if Tucson wins, if Malik Mitchell comes out, runs his legs off, and they win, but I don't really see it. I think Northern Arizona just has a better defense to knock that offense down. I think the offense is better than Tucson's defense. Still think it's kind of close, but overall, I think I think Northern Arizona gets the win. So that's it. That's it for me. We got one more day to preview stuff. We'll be here tonight to recap things. I'll get it out Sunday morning. And I got a jam-packed Saturday night, and it doesn't end here. So that being said, appreciate you guys watching the video. Stay safe out there. Love every single one of you. That's really it. See ya.